The ideal emergency call takers and dispatchers are efficient and effective at their jobs, always paying attention to the screens, listening to the slightest change in voice from the callers and the officers in the field. But not every operator can be these star service people. There are some who work hard enough just to get by. There are some who shoot for the bronze medal. This is Lifeline. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 Podcast with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I am your co-host, Gary, and today we are discussing employees that are bronze level. And we kind of touched on this in an earlier episode when we were talking about training and CTOs, saying that you're not looking for perfection when you're done with training. You're looking for good enough to get by, to keep everyone alive. But there are some who take that to heart and build a whole career out of that. And, every profession probably has people that, are not in it to win it, we'll say.
I love it.
So in the emergency services, 911 dispatching, that can take on some different perspectives, but as long as you're doing, the minimum of the job that the job requires, is that okay?
Yeah, it is. And I say it that way because, to say someone who is a high performer listening to this right now, they're probably clutching their pearls going, how is that okay? But it is because we have minimum standards, the absolute minimum that you are able to do, required to do, that is acceptable to do. And you have those employees that will do that and no more.
Exactly. And is that subtle okay with you?
Not really. It it doesn't, because I feel like, especially in our profession, we should be up here and we should be striving for up here. Does that mean every single day you're going to get that? No, simply because we are human beings and we have days where we're not feeling um, physically all there, maybe tired, or you may have something going on at home or outside of the call center. And to expect for someone to be 1000% on, I mean, you can expect that, but I don't know how realistic it is. But to know that there are those that are like, it's not that they don't care. Let me fix it. I don't mean to say that. They're just not going to run at 110. It's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important to demarcate that um, it's not necessarily being lazy, um,
Hmm.
because there are other reasons for why an employee may not be giving their best effort. They could be focusing their energies elsewhere in their life, home life, family life. They could be trying to write the great American novel. We've had a couple of people that have
Yeah,
been published authors where we work.
absolutely. Yep.
Um, so I guess, it's not that they're bad people at all. It's just they're okay with doing exactly what is required of them. Like,
Yes.
um, so
Yes.
for instance, we have a person who works with us, and say your shift starts at 10 o'clock. They will wait to log in until exactly 10 o'clock. And are they, I don't know, are they failing? No. The standard we set is, straight up and down 10 o'clock. Does that show excessive Uh, desire to succeed? Eh, it shows desire to do what is required to continue doing what you're doing.
And that is it. That is all. We have a former colleague of ours that told me once that and it stuck with me. He said, we're talking about an elevated skill set or a specialty skill set. And we had some people that were just not able to achieve this. And the debate was, should they be terminated because of it? And he said, would you terminate an officer for going out for SWAT more than once and never making it? And I was like, well, duh, no, it's still an officer, still a good officer. I'm sure they're good on some level doing what it is that they do. Everybody's not that material. And he basically just kind of looked at me like, you just answered your own question, because that was the debate. Because in my mind at the time, of course, this has been a few years back, and it was actually even before I promoted into supervision, my mindset was, you need to be on your game, bulletproof every day, all day, 150, full steam, you name it. Any cliche you can throw out there, yes, that was what I expected. And I don't know why you're even here if you can't do all of that. And when he said that, it knocked quite a bit of the wind out of my sail, because I had to stop and think about that. Wait a minute. Would I? No. We've got dispatchers in our center that are, man, please, the bee's knees. We've had some, in my opinion, some of the greats come through. And we have those that will check the officer status when they're supposed to. They will give updates on the calls when they're supposed to. They send backups when they're supposed to. We have call takers that ask the questions, not all of the questions, but the questions, the ones that are absolutely necessary. They are as good as you can expect someone to be fresh out of training. They just never grow beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is one more valuable than the other? Ultimately, no.
Yeah, because not only do a lot of times you have high performers, there are also, what's a good way to put this? High maintenance in some aspects. Like
Right.
um, I know that I am probably considered a high maintenance person. Uh,
We're not all high. Oh, whatever.
but
No.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if you're going to take me out, we're going to go to like a fancy 4-star restaurant. Um,
Okay.
but if, you know, there are drawbacks to being a really high performer. One of them is that unfortunately you can get very critical of your coworkers who are not performing at your level, and they may not be performing at your level either because they choose to not put in that extra effort, but again, that effort is extra, not required, and it can get
Yes.
yeah, it can get very frustrating if you're one of those high performers and you're doing all this stuff and you see somebody kind of coasting and taking it easy. You're like, why am I working so hard when they're not? And it can,
And my question to you would be, why indeed? That's not to say you shouldn't strive to be a high performer, but you're not wrong when you say most high performers have very little tolerance for people who are not
Mhm.
high performers.
Yeah.
They, like you say, they can be incredibly critical. Very little grace is given to people who have just, it could be as simple as they simply have not arrived at your level yet. Not because they don't want to be, they lack experience in the repetition that creates that high performance. But most high performers have very little tolerance for those who don't perform at their level. They are critical, and a lot of times they're incredibly arrogant. I'll say the things that don't nobody want to say. I'm say it. They're arrogant and high maintenance.
Hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah, I said it.
yeah, it creates this tension a lot of times in work groups because ultimately, if you feel, especially if you're in like a leadership role in your organization and you feel like your
Mhm.
low performers aren't doing like what you want them to do, um, then you need to change the standards. Uh, there's a movie that came out. I'm going to reference a movie in 1999 called Office Space. I don't know. It was filmed around Austin, but basically, this one girl's working at like a Chili's or something, and she's got like a couple of buttons on her shirt because they need to wear a certain number of flair, and the manager's like, you're only wearing 3 pieces of flair. Look at Jim over here. He's wearing 17. And so she says to him, well, if you want me to wear 17 pieces of flair, set the number at 17. And
Well, then there's that.
yeah, and that's an excellent defense to that position, because if that's what
Mhm.
you're wanting, then make that the standard.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you have, especially in our environment where we have, we really do have minimum expectations. This is what is required. These are the things that you must do. If you do above and beyond, it may reflect on your evaluation. And I may be able to say this one does, man, if the standard is 10, they're consistently at 15 and above. But again, the question becomes, is the 15 and above more valuable than the 10? But remembering that's where we set the standard at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Is one more valuable than the other? And like you said, as supervisors, we have to be mindful that everyone is not going to be that, but it doesn't make them less valuable than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not yet at that level of performing, at the rock star level that you want to, you are not less valuable. You are still needed. We still need you to take calls. We still need you to dispatch. We still need you to bring everything that you bring to the table, because if you were not valuable, you wouldn't be there.
Right. And it aside from just the actual duties of the job, there's a lot of peripheral things that somebody who's not performing top tier at their job might be doing that are um, valuable in a way that can't be categorized. So maybe this one person is slow to dispatch on calls, but meets the minimums. But they also really like doing potlucks or something like that. That brings a sort of ephemeral quality that can't really
Sure.
be judged. It's
Yeah.
just maybe they really like setting up parties, and they're just doing you know first responder work, taking calls, dispatching them, because that's what pays the bills. So
Sure.
that
And
yeah,
is that okay? Is it okay for someone to do this work that we do because it pays the bills and it's not their passion?
yeah,
It is okay.
yeah. I mean, um, if you don't at least have some liking for it, I think that you're making your money in a way that's extremely difficult and traumatizing. Uh,
No kidding.
that you could pick a better,
Oh,
an easier career for. But um, you know,
yeah,
if if you're meeting the standards that are set by your department, your organization, then who can say you're doing wrong, because you're meeting what's expected of you.
sure. And I think so. If we just, go with from our supervisor perspective for a moment, give me all day long the bronze level dispatcher that is going to give me what I absolutely need. Come in, is cordial, respectful, dutiful, come in and do the things that they're supposed to do. I don't have to take you in the back office and have conversations with you about anything. Give me that. All matter of fact, clone them and replace the whole staff of high performers with those people, because high performers tend to bring extra. That's not to say that they don't have value, because they do. And I love it. But they tend to be high maintenance because and if you are not showing value in the way that they believe it should be shown to them because they are such high performers, now you end up with a disgruntled employee that now you have to maintenance all the time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
give me my bronze level that is content at bronze level, which makes me content because now I don't have a paperwork. I'm good.
because it's a famous saying in business that you spend 80% of your time with 20% of your employees,
Mhm.
and while that's often taken to mean the bottom 20% that you're trying to help, um, that's also your high performing employees also often take an outsized portion of your time because something is either not working for them or they're needing something special to happen. And again, not saying one is better than the other, but there's a lot of factors to consider. Just like um, they may get upset at somebody that they feel isn't performing at their level when they don't have the whole picture of what's going on. Maybe
That's
that,
very true.
yeah, maybe that other person has some medical condition, or maybe that other
Yeah.
person is dealing with something like they're trying to finish their capstone project in school. There's
Hmm.
a myriad of things that can happen. And while we always want people to leave their personal lives at the door, I think that's a good rule of thumb for any industry. We're all still human, and we're all going to feel like we can't just turn that off. You know,
I I I I heard, I know you said it's a good rule of thumb, but I have to say I somewhat disagree with that because I think that if that were a realistic thing that could happen, we wouldn't have employee assistance programs.
mhm,
We wouldn't have peer support. We wouldn't have um, we wouldn't have any of the products that are out there in the world that support us while we do the things that we do. If that were a realistic goal, or if it was achievable or attainable, whatever word you want to use, I think that life happens and it can throw some really gnarly, nasty curveballs at you. And even the high performers are susceptible to that. So it's a cute saying, but I think that's all it is. It's just a saying because it's just not realistic.
yeah. I mean, like uh, on my way into work this morning, I got a flat tire, and that caused me to be late, which I hate being late.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
Um,
my. Oh, wow. You were traumatized by that. Folks,
it
if you know Gary, he was going through something with that. That messed him up probably for the rest of the day.
and it's yeah, and it's just that was something that um, I knew was going to affect me my whole work day, but
I'm
so
sorry.
I had to really um, try harder to kind of overcome that because I realized I was an external influence on me, and I still need
Yeah.
to perform as well as I can.
Yeah. And you're right. While I'm not a fan of the saying, I do understand that there are things that we should be able to push through and still deliver the service that we're required to. I don't care what your job is, whether it's, you're a server in a restaurant or you're sweeping floors. No job is less than, but I think some come with more consequences if you're not fully present. But I think that it I just think it's not that simple. And if you are able to press through, depending on what your work is, you should press through. But I think it's important to recognize if you can't,
Sure,
let us
yeah,
know that. I realize it might be a little off topic, but not really when you think about it. Because if take a high performer, for instance, they take a nosedive one day because they're such high performers. You and I, as supervisor, are going to go, what's going on there?
hmm,
Because they stay up here all the time. Is it a matter of they're really going through something and now I need to step in and offer assistance? Or, maybe they finally burned themselves out
yeah,
up here all the time because good night, nurse. Can you imagine? Talk about, I'm tired thinking about that.
yeah. It
It's a lot.
For the high performers, it does give them, I think, a lot of pressure to continue to perform at a high level, which in a lot of aspects is good because you, I
Hmm.
think, always want to do your best at whatever it is
Sure.
your hands find to do. But on on this, the other half of the coin, it does put a lot of pressure on you to maintain those high expectations. And if you ever slip up, you've slipped up, and
Hmm.
that can be
And so does
really,
everyone else.
yeah, that can be really tough for somebody who has built their personality and persona around being a high performer. Um,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
can be downright traumatic depending on what happens.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they may slip from being like, you know, gold level to silver level, but they feel like they've totally failed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And now you have to help them work through that. Yeah, I can absolutely see that. If you are that person, again, we're not beating up high performers. I think if there's a moral to the story, it would be perform at your high level. That's fine, but give grace to people who may not have arrived at your level of performing or choose not to go there because it's work.
Yeah, yeah.
It's work to get there and it's work to stay there. And the fall from grace is it's a long way down.
Hmm. Especially when you put yourself on a pedestal.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because, as you said, you know, we're all human. Uh, we have good days and bad days. Some days we're able to, make it through the bad days a little bit better than other days. But give yourself permission to be human and to err, I suppose.
Yeah, and know that this work you are still valuable if you are a fresh out of training 911 call taker or dispatcher or even supervisor or even in management. You have to give yourself room to grow into your role. But if you never achieve quote unquote high performance greatness, that's okay too. Just give your best, whatever your best is, give that, and it'll be sufficient.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that it's kind of, I don't know, a bit of the tortoise and the hare in some respects, where like the high performers can burn themselves out really quickly, whereas the slow, steady, constant, I'm going to do the minimum standards that you set for me, kind of
Yeah,
have a longer lifespan in the career?
yes, I think so because I think if you're realistic about what happens in this, the longer you do it, you, I think this is just my opinion. I think that it's an ebb and flow type of thing. I don't think it's healthy to get to up here and stay here and not give yourself any room to relax. The minute you're not recognized for being up here, you now can become disgruntled, frustrated, and then you start to think, well, why am I performing at this level if I don't get any more than the person who's at the bronze level? Because think about it in our workforce, I can't give you a bigger raise. The raise you're going to get is the raise you're going to get, whether
Mm-hmm.
your evaluation says stellar or
Sucky.
successful
I mean,
or
successful. Yeah.
successful even. Yeah, just towing the line, doing the minimum. You're meeting the standard that we set. And if you are performing at a 25 and the standard is 10, I can't give you one nickel more than the person at 10. I can I can I can express some appreciation, some gratitude, and I can give you some kudos. I could do that. But even those after a while are going to become stale if that's all that's really motivating you. Because in a minute I'm not going to be able to give you all of that. It's going to become repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean the same at that point? So I think I think there's some I don't know, what am I looking for? I think there's some thought that needs to go into it. I think you need to look at yourself and decide what truly motivates you to perform at this level and be realistic about what you can expect to get back from performing at that level.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. When birds migrate, and they fly in or geese, I guess, and they fly in the V pattern. Um, the spot that takes the most energy to fly in is the point of the V, and the spot that
Mhm.
takes the least energy to fly in is the very tip of it. So a lot of times, well, after a certain time, the whatever the point bird is, I don't remember what that's called, but they'll rotate and kind of move out to the end of the wing to kind of glide more rather than fighting the
Yeah,
headwinds. And
yeah,
you know that's sort of like the ebb and flow you were talking about of performing higher and performing more to standard.
yeah. Because we've known some high performers. I've known a couple of high performers, well, naming names, of course, but I've known a couple of high performers that were at that just amazing on 150, full throttle, all the things. And they stayed there. And the moment they were no longer acknowledged and or recognized, or the attaboys and the attagirls heaped on them, they became disgruntled. They felt like, well, why aren't I being recognized for my high standard? Well, because your high standard is normal. There's nothing extraordinary about it
Uh,
anymore.
well, I mean,
It's
yeah,
not special.
it's I don't know. Kind of taking the other side of that argument, how do you, I guess, counsel somebody who's a high performer and they're getting frustrated that those around them aren't working at their pace in terms of like, I'm, doing A and B and C and D and E, and, they're just kind of doing A, and that's it. And like, then that makes the high performer feel like, well, I'm doing all these extra letters, and what does it really even matter? What's the point? And I think that's where you have to
Do
find.
you see my face right now, Gary?
I do see your face.
Do y'all see my face right now?
It's incredulous.
I'm waiting for you to get to the point. Not you, but I'm saying to
Yeah,
to my high performer that wants me to do all this tap dancing. What do you want from me?
right. And so, how do you like counsel them without discouraging them too much in terms of kind of shutting them down? Because we've all had people that were high performers. They make a complaint, and then when it doesn't get handled to their satisfaction, they then kind of drop down to be, bronze level, or maybe even worse.
Well, oh, is this a real question?
I I think so.
I'm just checking because to be honest, I'm gonna give you my real. I'm going to be really honest. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's recognized, and you know, it's wonderful that you are at that level. My first question would be, what is it that motivates you to perform at that level?
Mm,
I would make it more about, let's talk about why you are feeling this way. Why do you perform at this level? Because if it's about um, recognition, there's only so much of that you're going to get, because we're not going to spend all day, every day waving flags with your name on it. It's not happening.
mm,
What is the motivation? I can't give you any more money. It's a government agency. We broke as he hankies at whistling time. What do you want from me? What is that what's that word? It's intrinsic. What is that mode? I'm looking for that motivation that comes from within that causes you to perform at this level. If it is a matter of pride for you, then dig deeper and get some more, because everyone is not required and everyone is not motivated in the same way. I really don't know what I can tell you other than what you do is absolutely appreciated. It is acknowledged. Your units in the field appreciate it. It is, your work is respected. It is seen. It is talked about. first of all, I can't talk to you about everybody else's performance. That's number one. I can't discuss anybody else's performance. If I'm a halfway decent supervisor, worth my salt, I'm not going to talk to you about what everybody else's performance is or is not. So let's bring it on back around to you and what motivates you to perform at this level. And if you choose to drop down, know that the real problem is going to be for you. You won't be the one that's struggling looking in the mirror every day because you are no longer performing at the level that you set for yourself, not what we did.
Uh,
And it won't be because I don't care about how they're feeling. I mean, I'm very matter of fact right now because this is just a conversation that you and I are having. But you've been in the room with me when I've had to have conversations with people. I'm not, don't get it twisted. I can be this, but I would not approach it in a so matter of fact. But I don't believe that I would go in attempting to make sure that they walked out feeling as if I'm going to do something to make their high performing standard that is above and beyond what has been set for everybody else. I'm not going to do that.
yeah, because I mean, you don't want to, I guess, hold it as a hostage or bargaining chip, because you either are going to do it or you're not as the employee. And I think it gets back to motivations. I remember when I was when I was the training coordinator, um, I was having a conversation with one of the trainers, and I asked them, I said, and I was talking about like, what you're doing is really valuable. It's really important. It's, training the next, generation of, operators to be able to take the phone calls and help people. And, think about if it's your sister, your parent on the line. And then they were like, I'm doing this for the stipend that I get for every month. And I was like, oh, okay then. And for me, that changed my entire conversation because
Hmm.
I don't have to, it's not needed to talk about any of these other things that are ephemeral. It was the cash. So, I mean,
Hmm.
that's perfectly fine. It's important to know what your motivating drives are,
Sure.
because if you know
Yeah.
that, then you can follow them and make sure that you're not going in a direction that your heart doesn't really want to go into.
Yeah. And for me, that one's actually easier.
Yeah,
Oh, it's about the money. Great. Let's talk about the money.
got it.
Okay. So you're being paid to perform at a certain level, and that's what you're doing it for.
Hmm.
Excellent. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to perform at that level.
Yeah.
It's really quite simple. I don't have to stroke your ego. I don't have to hold your hand. I don't have to speak soothing words of encouragement. Ugh, I don't have to do any of that. It's about the money. Good. How about you earn it?
Okay. So,
And we're done here.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it makes it a lot easier because it's just like do this, this, and this, and you keep getting the money. It's really easy. So if you work at a center, I don't know if there's a whole bunch of these, but where you have like kind of pay for performance. So if you get a better rating on your evaluation, you get a bonus or a raise or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, that can be that is an effective way to motivate people that have a strong monetary desire. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody would like to make more money,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
that's higher on some people's totem poles than others.
Yeah.
Um, so if you find people like that and you have that as part of your center, then you could say, okay, here's our bronze level that you need to perform at to work here. If you want to get up to silver level and get, a 3% raise, or a gold level and get a, 8% raise, this is what you need to do. And
Yep.
then you can motivate them. But I use the money because that's like an easy one to kind of understand. But
Sure.
everybody, if you can figure out what motivates them, you can do that for them too. And
Sure.
uh, it's not always something done at like a supervisory level. That might be like a director level where you're making those kind of changes. But that's, people will rise to the level of standard that you set for them. And as we kind of opened
We
with, if, bronze is your standard for working, then C's get degrees, baby. And, go full steam ahead. But,
Oh,
if you want if you want people to perform differently, change the expectations.
yeah. That supervisors, if you're listening, if you don't have silver and gold in your camp, but they are all, they're performing at the level that they're supposed to, they are every bit as valuable as the ones who are. And you can't show preferential treatment to the ones who are your high performers. They all deserve a baseline level of dignity, respect in your time and your attention and the things that they need from you as their leadership. Trying hard to fight against having a bias against and or for either one of them.
Mm-hmm. So, to everyone out there in the profession that's a bronze, a silver, or even a gold star, uh, thank you for doing what you do, because it helps. Even if what you do is the bare minimum, that's the minimum that's set, and you should still be, proud of yourself. And for those of you who are motivated by money, just forget all about that and collect your check, and you'll be happy, right?
Cha-ching!
From all of us here at Lifeline 911, we're glad that you enjoyed the show, or at least we hope you did. If you have any
Yeah.
thoughts or comments, please be sure to leave them down below, and also like and subscribe. And from all of us here at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary,
I'm Erica.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.